Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to CSU. This is our third game this week and our first Overwatch game of the season, Overwatch Green, here today against George Mason University. I am joined online by the lovely Roxanne, aka Psychic, not Silatte. Change your name. Almost missed that. But how are you doing today, Psychic?
I am doing great. I'm excited to get back into this season. I feel like there's been a lot of changes. I feel like I'm seeing a bunch of new people here on CSU, and I'm excited to see how that's going to end up shaking out. Now, fill me in. Do you know anything about these new players? Anything about their past? Anything about what they're going to be playing, bringing into this team?
So I actually do. I actually, for the player, I actually have known all of these players before the start of the season.
Oh,
Keegan, I remember watching in Calling All Heroes, the marginalized gender Overwatch tournament, which is a great tournament, by the way. So glad that Overwatch currently hosts something like that. Muhiki used to duo, or be the duo, quote unquote, but play on teams with my old coach. And Junior was on White, got promoted up to Green, as he was the best option, the best player for the job. He has now been moved up. Keegan, an excellent tank player, very strong in characters like the D.Va, like the Sigma, very good off-tank player, and working on the main tank characters. A very solid Winston at the moment. Meanwhile, Muhiki is a legendary flex support, absolutely fantastic, and that tier 3 scene. So CSU right now looking very, very strong.
absolutely. I feel like every time I come back for a new semester, we have grown further and further and further and are genuinely incredibly powerful as a team. And I'm really excited to see how that shakes out. I think we're going to Lijiang for this first one. Classic. I feel like we're always going to Lijiang for the first round.
Yeah, just the way that things have to be at this point. It's the way that Overwatch was meant to be played. Sorry, I just had to check the chat. It's the way that Overwatch was meant to be played. Map 1 is supposed to be Lijiang. That's just the way of nature.
It's like for Smash players, everybody just wants to go to PS2 instead of picking a real map.
Who
Now,
wants to go to PS2? Who wants to go to Battlefield?
Who wants to go to Lilac Cruise?
Me. Producer and I agree.
Oh my. I'm in a room full of maniacs. Or not physically.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not in a room full of maniacs.
Not in the room, but
But I'm really excited for this. How do you think Lijiang is going to look differently? Because I feel like we're going to see a lot of different things given the changes to the meta. What do you think we could see in Lijiang as compared to previous semesters?
well, it was like we were talking about before the stream came online. Lijiang should be dominated, or not dominated necessarily, but prevalent with the Winston, with the D.Va, that sort of dive style that has taken over in the meta overall. Juno has prevailed as a premier flex support pick, so expect to see something like a Juno Brig. If not, we might just see Ana Brig. We might see Lucio Kiri. There's a lot of flexible support duos, and the tank role is a little bit flexible with that Winston, with that D.Va. And DPS, it's a little bit more stagnant. I'm expecting to see a lot of Tracer, a lot of Echo, and then maybe some Ashe or Sim if they want to get a little bit cheeky.
I think that's some really good analysis. I think that, like, especially with how Lijiang is formatted, especially on, I'm thinking about like that circle point primarily, where like being able to jump, or I don't know the names of the points. I'm so sorry. But I think especially the one where that's the circular with the moat, I think that being able to jump over, that's going to be real important. I think that being able to control space and get in very quickly is going to be important. But I also want to wonder if we're going to see maybe a little bit of a off meta strategy, given the fact that things are a little bit odd right now for DPS. And I wonder if that might cause CSU to need to reestablish a game plan or change up their strategy, maybe even to try and counter what GMU is going to be running.
Well, this should be a reasonably close game as well. GMU are a very strong team. We've seen them, or not necessarily we, but they have been in tournaments on the international stage. They have taken maps off of some of the best of the best. Granted, sometimes it may be fraudulent. For example, one time they won a tournament against the incredibly stacked Northwood team, which has several tier 1 professional players, but that one was a forfeit. But still, they have put themselves into a position where they can be in a tournament and be in the grand finals against Northwood. So this is a team that's very strong and has that potential to be that championship level. And CSU, as their first game of the season, this is probably the most challenged they're going to be for quite a while.
Absolutely. I think that CSU a lot of the time ends up rolling a lot of their games, and I'm really excited to see CSU have to go against a team that is this accomplished, that is this capable. Even if it might be a harder game for them, CSU has always been a team who has risen to the occasion. And even if they haven't been able to take it every single time, they have never given up a game without a fight. And I'm really excited to see how this goes.
Heading in, we're going to start on Gardens, the one that you were
all right.
100% sure on. It is Gardens.
It's called Gardens. It's also the circle point.
The circle point, of course.
So we're going to see these hero picks in just a second.
I'm expecting the Winston, maybe the Juno. Yep. We're going to see Muhiki starting on the Juno. I also talked to Muhiki the other day between some of the maps of their scrims while they were just playing it out. Muhiki was taking a quick break, and I was talking to him like, how do you guys feel about Juno? I think that character's kind of trash. And he was like, actually, we've been playing it a lot in scrims. This was before, for example, OWCS Korea, where they have been showing a lot of that Juno. Muhiki had faith in it early in that flex support slot. I didn't, and it's proven to be correct.
I think that from what I've seen from Juno, there is a lot of utility in her kit. However, we're gonna have to see how that shakes out. We'll see if you might be able to have a little bit of a justification for your hatred throughout this match. We're gonna see CSU picking the D.Va with GMU going for the Winston here. Teams' compositions are looking pretty similar, although the supports are relatively different, although it's a Kiriko versus a Juno. How do you think the utility of those two flex supports are going to affect how these two teams have to play the game?
The best part about Juno is her mobility, as well as her raw burst value with those torpedoes. Her right-click ability has such a massive burst of healing and damage, but I'm not really looking at the flex support matchup here. I'm looking at the tank matchup. This is one that I think is very important, the D.Va versus the Winston. I call it the quote-unquote crunch matchup to play the D.Va, because if you're a better player, the D.Va should win. But Winston is just so much better at tank trades.
I understand that, although I would kind of assume that Winston wins that trade. What makes D.Va able to take it from a higher skilled player? CSU putting in some nice damage. That's going to be 3 of their teammates down. Only the Echo and the Winston alive. And I'm speaking before the chickens have hatched. That's going to be CSU taking over the point here.
So yeah, the thing that makes D.Va really powerful in those tank, like in the tank 1v1, if you're just like, the better player, if the Winston player isn't doing too hot, is that she has that massive amount of burst damage that she can just throw into the Winston. Winston's biggest weakness has always been his vulnerability to burst damage, and D.Va is a character who can really exemplify that.
I think I can absolutely understand that. Winston really does not want to get burned down, as I feel like his only mitigation is either jumping away or having access to his ult. Otherwise, you're just going to go down. That's going to be the box tube coming down, CSU in a little bit of a scary position. That's going to be the ring from Juno going down. Bit of an interaction, but CSU was able to hold the point here. That's going to be both of the supports down. The supports are down, so the structure is going to crumble here. There goes most of GMU, forcing this Winston back to spawn. CSU is playing this very, very well, I think.
Yep, you did need to use 2 support ults there, though, and one of the best thing about Juno's ultimate, that Orbital Ray, is that it's so good at helping you farm up ultimates that have just been used, that cycling ultimate. It gives you that 35% damage boost, so pop it on an Echo, pop it on a D.Va, and you'll be farming that ultimate back up so quickly.
Absolutely. Being at a little bit of an ultimate disadvantage might be a little bit scary, but it's definitely not the end of the world, especially 4-3 is not the worst place to be. That's going to force out the sound barrier from GMU. Ouch. CSU's going to take some major hits. Keegan and Captain Jr. being the only 2 up right now. That's going to be the bomb. Is that going to get anyone?
That was just, I think, Keegan trying to go for the remech. The rest of your team is dead at that point. Just take the L, sacrifice, die on point. I'm not a big fan of using the ult there. Now, CSU coming into this next fight will not have an ultimate. Bean Sealer will have the Kitsune Rush. So CSU, and this is the thing, without a support ultimate, it gets so much harder to win these fights. And now CSU are against 2.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be. That's going to be the Echo on the other team taking the D.Va. This could be a little bit scary, although it does mean that they only have one option left when it comes to ultimates. That's going to be Keegan able to beam down the mech for the opposing Echo. I can't believe we keep reading these characters' names. I am rusty. Let's work that rust off. Looks to be CSU losing out on Captain Junior and IOU1, but still trying to hold on to the point here. A little bit scary. Here comes the Fox 2. I think that might be a little bit of a scary proposition. CSU is in a decent position, I think, even if that's going to be the orbital ray going down. They're trying to stay on this point very aggressively. I feel like... No, you do not have the time for a recontest. I don't think it's going to be the Kiriko down. CSU might be able to retake this with a little bit of magic.
Yeah, this is the thing, though, Keegan. If they had the remech, if they had that self-destruct for this fight, they would have been able to keep their fully grown diva rather than the baby diva, but they'll win the fight either way. Muhiki built up that orbital ray at the perfect moment in order to clutch out this fight against the Kitsune Rush. Kept them alive and gave them that boosted damage, and the beautiful boot from Keegan almost stops the recontest.
Ooh! They're going to be trying to force onto the point. There's going to be the sound barrier coming down from IOU1. That's going to be... Oh my gosh, GMU almost has their sound barrier. There it goes. Both teams effectively, the moment they take this point, whoever wins this round is probably going to... Or whoever wins this fight is probably taking the round. There goes Thickman.
He lives!
Bunch is scary. Oh my gosh, CSU just trying to force them off the point. There goes the bomb, I think.
4 dies to their own pulse bomb! Recalls right into it! Keegan blows them up with the booty!
CSU, with the Juno ult at the perfect moment, and that... Someone's looking out for CSU. That was incredible.
I mean, that's a little bit of good fortune. Embor not quite counting down the recall correctly, right? You need to be able to... Whenever you throw a pulse bomb, there's a silent rule when you're playing Tracer. Don't recall immediately after dropping that pulse, or else there's a 1 in 5 chance you're blowing yourself up, recalling right into where you dropped it.
Yeah, and I think that at the very... As much as CSU did get pretty lucky there, I think that CSU is also a team that's very good at capitalizing on mistakes like that. I think that, like, while in that situation, it was a little bit hook, line, and sinker, CSU has always been very good at capitalizing on opportunity. I'm excited to see how that goes in this next round. Currently fighting a little bit outside of the point as we're waiting for it to unlock. Don't think anybody's found a kill yet, but a bit of a scramble situation trying to find that first pick to unravel the opponent's team.
This will favor CSU, I think. Muhiki on the Juno will have a little bit better poke damage, but Junior will be the first to fall here. Kaiosen will find that. Yeah, but Muhiki does find a trade.
Okay, trade, that's not the worst situation to be in. It does mean you're on one support. But if you can chase down the other Lucio, that could be the tide turner. Although, unfortunately, CSU is not going to have the presence on point to follow up on it.
Not quite, unfortunately. And now if Alizu gets staggered here, it'll be real rough. Needs to get out here. Looks like they'll find the exit. Just going to take a bit of chip damage as they leave. So CSU not going to drop another player. And Muhiki, if he builds up this Orbital Ray as the first ultimate in the game, that'll be huge. Orbital Ray is so much value.
Absolutely. I think that things like the Orbital Ray, things like the Fox Tube, are so good for just building momentum because of what they do for everybody else's ult economy. And if CSU can just start that ball rolling and have the ultimates for those opportunities, that's going to be huge. Muhiki, there we go. That's going to be available at the same time. There goes the Orbital Ray here. Let's see what CSU can do with it. Unfortunately, that's Captain Junior down, but trading with the opposing Echo. That Echo's real close to copy, and I'm not a big fan of that. But I think CSU might be able to take the point here. Thickman might be the only person from the opposing team still on the point. Nope, that might be the Tracer. Alizu chasing them down in the mirror match.
Yep, Alizu going to go for the pulse bomb. Doesn't quite connect. These trades have been nice, but CSU ultimately not favored. But one critical detail in this fight that I want to point out is that Misa Rush dropped the beat and only hit 2. So it may not have even been noticeable unless you heard the audio cue or saw the rings, but they have the beat advantage now, CSU, so they have a way to enter this fight and close it out relatively comfortably.
Absolutely, that's I feel like beat, especially in this, it might be a little bit less pronounced, but it's such an important ultimate, just given the fact that it gives you so much sustainability, and it lets you play through things that you normally wouldn't be able to do. Speak of the devil, there's the beat. That's going to force out the adaptive circuits, making a second diva on the field. It's going to also force out the Fox Tube from GMU here. CSU sitting with a little bit of clean ultimate economy.
Self-destruct there from the duplicate. Embor found his junior, and I rule you one falls as well. This looks like an ended round against CSU. George Mason seems as though they found the lockpick to this one.
Ouch. Not where you want to be, but I feel like we've definitely seen CSU lose this points pretty frequently. It's always felt like a bit of a white whale, in my opinion.
Yeah. Don't have to remind me. I've experienced it.
Trust me. I don't think I do.
One thing I have to criticize CSU about is it feels like their DPS are either getting a little bit too overeager in the duels that they're taking, or they're trying a little bit too hard to fight, or they're just getting caught out and getting out mechanicked. Either CSU needs their DPS to play a little bit more conservative, a little bit more reserved, or they need to simply lock in, grow up, hit their ones, or get their ones. That is obviously an exaggeration, but...
Speaking of the DPS, we're going to see a switch off into a Cassidy and a Mei. I feel like that's probably point dependent. How are you feeling about that?
Not a big fan of the Mei, personally. It's found a bit of an upswing in the recent meta in the ROM duel. It can be very important. It can be very nice, but honestly, I kind of wish this cast was on something a little bit more cheeky. Something like the Sin, something like the Bastion, but if there's anything Junior's comfortable on, it is those point-and-click characters.
And I mean, as you were saying, like, I think that right now, if CSU wants to be able to take this, they might just want to be able to play to their advantage, just be able to win those 1v1s, win those situations. And like, I feel like that's always a lot easier when a character that you're a lot more comfortable with.
Yep.
GMU can be able to take control of the point area first, but CSU is not out in the slightest, continuing to fight, pushing their way onto the point here. Supports on GMU happen to keep everybody alive. There goes the window from Muhiki. Super early. There goes the tank. And the...
A lightning speed amplification matrix. Beanstealer was at 50. Beanstealer had half of their ultimate. Muhiki, this is what I was talking about. Muhiki is a generational talent, maybe a bit excessive, but this guy is that sort of rookie star to look out for.
Matrix I've ever seen. That bath window came for 50% off.
Like
you bought it at Save-A-Lot or something.
That's a freaking BOGO deal on the Ant Matrix. Watch, this next one's about to be up even sooner.
Exactly. Speaking of ultimates, we're about to see them come down. Keegan popping the I only know this is it Annihilation, I think that's what it's called.
Yep.
Oh, there goes the opposing tank. This is not good for GMU, forcing them off of the point. Throwing some hymns. There goes the BAP. Ant Matrix, I don't think was the play there. It really doesn't survive Rampage form. Or I don't know the proper nouns.
So
yeah, Nemesis form.
GMU, they panicked a little bit, and they tried to pop an ultimate to counteract the Annihilation. They didn't expect Keegan to be just waltzing in with that already. But then they popped the beat, they popped the Blizzard, and the window for it.
Ooh, not where you want to be. Also, Sojourn on the opposing team here.
Yeah, I already said before, I don't think that character's very good. Shouldn't be playing it, and we're starting to see why.
Bunch of ultimates coming down. I think CSU just burned a bunch of them, and I think they might be able to capitalize off it. Lucio is extremely low. Gyarados, both of the supports. The structure is crumbling right now. I think that the only person still in the fight here...
I don't know about that Annihilation there, Thick Man. That one may be a little bit presumptuous.
I feel like they might have had the Winston muscle memory locked in, and then being on a character where that isn't your reversal option might be a little bit panic heavy.
I mean, this is a Masters to GM level lobby. Muscle memory on a certain character I don't think is a reasonable excuse. CSU, they just show that they are better at the Ramatra comp. I think that is a better comfort comp for CSU overall. The Diva and the Dive. It's nice, but Junior and Alizu are not able to play their comfort characters, which is something like... I guess Alizu is pretty good at the Tracer, but Captain Junior, this guy can actually carry... even though he was on White, which is the JV team, he can carry at this level on the hit scan characters.
I mean, absolutely.
Yep.
We even saw getting the play of the game here. Captain Junior is putting in work. Everybody on the team felt like they had their own special moments. I feel like CSU, especially right now, is a team that is fundamentally defined by everybody has an X factor, and those X factors culminate into a team that is able to perform crazy things.
Mm-hmm. The nice thing about it is, I think out of all the players, unlike last semester, or unlike his other roles, Alizu is the player with the least X factor. That is your sort of rock player on this which is a bit odd for me, because playing with him on Flexport and playing with him on tank, he is an X factor player. His tank is very, very resource heavy, very aggressive, and he can just make a play out of nothing. Same with his Flexport. Very resource intensive, very aggressive, very much a care me, I need peel, but I'll kill 5.
I remember that.
Yep. He would always say, don't trade me, but he'll be in the enemy backline and expects me to do something about it. But his DPS, his Flex DPS in particular, doesn't seem to have that same sort of style of overcommitment and a high resource intensity. He is a lot more of a rock solid player.
I think even what we saw there, I think that Alizu really, really shined in moments that required a lot of fundamentals. Where I think round 2, although they didn't end up winning, kiting that Winston and being able to survive in the backline without being forced to die and then stagger. I think being in that situation requires a lot of information that you have to be aware of, and you have to play that correctly, or you are putting your team at an extreme amount of disadvantage.
Psychic. I just saw map 2. Now look, okay. I'm a biased man. Ty Munster, am willing to admit I'm a biased man, and I hate a lot of things. If there's anything I hate, it is the next map, Parisio. I hate Parisio.
I don't think I can blame you. I'm not a huge fan of this map personally. I don't think I have as strong opinions on it, but it's not in my top 5 or top 10 or...
It's a very, very... So, it has very prevalent high grounds while still being very poke reliant, which means that even when D.Va was kind of doo-doo water, she was still the best tank to play just because of how important the sight lanes were. And just because you needed that high ground control, you needed to have some sort of offensive presence and offensive pressure without sacrificing too much on the defense. And that's why D.Va has always been good on Parisio. I hate D.Va. But again, I know I just explained it, but expect D.Va. D.Va is very power crept right now. She did just get a nerf. Her defense matrix was put up to 3.5 seconds of maximum duration. It is now back down to 3 seconds. But her damage is still much higher. Her mobility is still much better. This character is very, very strong right now, so do expect to see him.
I don't doubt that. I definitely think we saw a lot of D.Va last round until that last one. Although... This isn't in the slot that Circuit Royale. I wish we were on King's Row or something. I have no attachment to this map.
Oh, I can't believe you just said you wish you were on Circuit Royale.
I love Circuit Royale. I think that the Sigma comp was so cool. I think that the small amount of time when people were doing the thing with the Life Weaver, where you jump over and try and ambush the team, was so cool.
Do you remember how much pain I went through with Circuit Row? No. I'm thinking King's Row. Pardon me.
You have beef with King's Row.
I have beef with King's Row.
I'm not going to defend King's Row like I will Circuit Royale.
You know what? I also have beef with King's Row. Or Circuit Royale, rather. Man, I'm fried. I'm so sorry.
You are...
But I also have beef with Circuit Royale. I'm a main tank player, and my team made me play Circuit Royale. I don't want to play Sigma. Let me play my funny gorilla. But... Yep, we're seeing what I think should be expected, except now Keegan is playing the Winston instead.
I think it could have value. I think that this map, as much as it is very sightline reliant, I think that there are a lot of indoor spaces where Winston can get a lot of value, maybe by peeking through doorways and getting cheeky hits from that, or by being in a situation where he can hit you and move around very aggressively while you can't keep your aim reticle on him. It's going to be IRU1 going down here.
Well, one thing we just saw that makes Winston better, my point would be a little bit better exemplified if Muhiki was able to save IRU1 in time, but it's that Winston succeeds the most when you can follow up on Ana's biotic grenade, because D.Va's mobility is great, but it's not as instantly fast as Winston. Winston can instantly follow up on a biotic grenade, takes less than a second.
Winston,
D.Va gonna take up it.
Absolutely. Winston jumps in on you and you are in trouble. And especially with this D.Va here, if you don't have the cooldowns to try and shut down Keegan, they can just do this. You have the advantage, I think. Listen, I wouldn't be opposed to a Winston-only meta.
Okay, looks like... Okay, never mind. Does not look as though we were, we had that issue. It seems to be, in fact, a... I'm going to call it user error, just to upset the producer.
As if I can control whether the Ethernet works or not.
It might have honestly been... what I'm thinking is because we just logged into the account today, it might be like, hang on, this is weird.
No, like OBS disconnected too.
Oh, so it was the connection.
Yeah. Oh, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Well, that's unfortunate.
Welcome back, folks.
Okay, well, CSU capped first, and they seem to have just popped Nano and Pulse Bomb.
Welcome back to Overwatch 2.
Okay. What an alpha move from Embor. Sticks Alizu with the Pulse Bomb. Sticking the enemy tracer. That's alpha. That's just alpha.
Yeah, you can't not. That's just kind of fun. CSU, I was worried about that ultimate disadvantage for a little while, but they very quickly evened it up. Pikmin's mech is out of the picture. How are you one putting on some serious pressure?
Oh, Keegan trying to cover the Tracer's exit. Didn't quite recognize where the recall would be, but now CSU are primed to cap at least second for now. Gonna force them back. There's a touch coming through, but this is a nice read on the dive, but the Ana's knocked down!
Ooh! With like, I think a big weakness of Ana is the lack of movement abilities. Oh, yeah. I feel like a lot of other characters would have been able to get out of that situation, but when you don't have the option to get out of there, you're in a lot of danger. There goes the mech drop, but it's not gonna find someone. Did it find someone? I'm not sure, but it didn't help him.
Did not find a kill there. Did not find a whole lot other than an attempted reset. That's what we saw Keegan do that I criticized, trying to use self-destruct to get the remech. Usually that's what self-destruct is for. If you see it get a kill, that's just a cherry on top. You never really expect it nowadays. It's mostly just used as a second life. And now we see Thick Man moving over to the Winston.
I think that's the correct option. I feel like GMU has had a bit of a problem where they're a little bit very hasty on those panic ultimates. They maybe don't have like the trigger discipline that CSU has at times. Like, granted, we're not immune to panic ults, but I feel like they're usually a lot better in position. Granted, CSU still has to push through this final point. Let's see if they can make the magic happen.
One thing I do want to criticize real quick, I did just see Irulu1 bash into the enemy backline and immediately get split and die, so, you know, gotta make fun of my boy a little bit, but...
Well, it's good to have somebody in the booth who's willing to make fun of the players, because I am terrified to do that.
Hey, I used to be one of them. I could do it.
Exactly. That's why you're here.
The only reason.
Yeah. It's not that you're a really good commentator. It's nepotism.
Exactly. That was a nice chase down hill as well from Elise. The confidence as well. The swagger to just stand on point and say, try me, and then win the duel. Kind of clean with it.
You gotta respect it. Like, that's a good play if it works out.
And even if it doesn't work out, the only thing Elysia has to not do is die. If you survive that interaction, you're still pushing the cart.
Exactly. Keegan jumping in, taking some damage on the Ashe, but they're gonna have to run away. Nano's on. They're gonna find a conversion. Ooh, it's blocked on the jump. Not where you want to be.
It's just going to be a reset now for CSU. Third points are usually quite difficult to cap. There's a fairly short walk for the defenders to get from spawn to point. And even outside of that, usually the point is very defender favored, intentionally so by Blizzard, in order to kind of be a sort of fortress, right? Somewhere to dig your heels into as your dig your feet into.
It's your final stand.
Exactly, and it's built to be a good final stand.
Definitely can be very scary. Keegan jumping in back after this, their opposing Winston tries to get in. Is that Nano? That is Nano. Nano Monkey's a little bit scary here, but CSU continues to fight through it. I think we might have seen Muhiki go down to that or something else, but at the same time, CSU continues to try and push in here.
Coming into this fight, CSU are about to have the golden row. They're close to 5 ultimates. Elysia's going to sneak this card away as the Nano Boost comes in. Perfect timing.
That I'm liking the Alizu play here. I think just being willing to stick on the point is such a powerful move here because it forces a lot of inevitability in the game right now. There goes the pulse bomb.
Onto the sleeping monkey. It's so sad. It's optimal, but it's still sad to watch as the enemy tank just gets blown to smithereens by a single ultimate.
He's going to have to dream. He's dreaming of surviving the pulse bomb, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the reality of the situation. I think this is looking pretty all right, although those ultimates on GMU, if they come up, could be a little bit scary, but they are going to have to find them really soon. Allies are going down, but that's going to be the ultimate from... Could have sworn I heard a Lari ultimate, but...
Nope. My goodness. Keegan has killed 3 this fight, by the way, with the Primal. Granted, it was a bio-nade from Muhiki that enabled it, but still, this is a turnable fight. They lost 2, and they're still pushing through.
Oh my goodness. That's CSU. That's... You give them any
clutch.
sort of... That was genuinely sick. I think that CSU is a team where if you, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times. You give CSU an inch, they are taking a mile. They are taking the entire set.
I mean, it's such a small thing, but they also cap with time, right? It's a classic thing in Overwatch. You cap with time, you're going to have a significant advantage. That was mostly a thing with 2CP and Hybrid in Overwatch 1, no more 2CP, but that still exists in Hybrid, and guess what? This is a Hybrid map. Capping with time means that even if you get fully just dogged on, just completely walked over like you are nothing, you will still have a second opportunity to attack and a second opportunity to defend, and you will be playing for more than just a draw. That is so important to cap with time.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a really important point. And I'm really hoping that it doesn't matter in this round, because I'm really hoping CSU is able to take this here.
Yeah, just end it quickly.
We're to see almost mirror compositions, but Alizu on the Echo here. How do you think that shakes out as opposed to being on the Tracer?
What?
So when you're playing on defense, usually, or well, in general, not just on defense, the Tracer exists in order to have strong angle control. But on defense, you don't really need that angle control quite as severely. You're playing more so to get good spam damage in and hold strong angles. And Echo is very good at that. Tracer will struggle a little bit to get into a position where she can just fly by this Echo.
I think that's a really important point. I also think there are definitely parts of Paradiso, or however, I forgot how to pronounce it because I haven't heard the announcer say it in a hot minute. But I think there are definitely parts of this map where a lot of the areas are probably not as accessible to Tracer as they are to Echo, and being able to effectively use those as escape routes seems incredibly powerful. You see CSU beginning this round here, holding pretty steady. But I think we've yet to see GMU try and make a play.
It's a nice leap dart there onto the back line. Meanwhile, CSU ripping apart GMU's. They'll just take their complementary kills, and they'll be done with it.
Both of those supports are down. It's not where you want to be as a team, albeit that Ana might have sightline if they are really booking it.
CSU, I think that it's a nice look for them that Keegan is able to pull out this strong of a Winston. I said before that I do think Keegan has a strong Winston. May have been fibbing a very minor amount of fibbing, because I think that they have struggled a little bit on Winston from time to time, but it's looked good so far, and that's one thing I'm very happy to see.
Even if they might be struggling in this situation, it's felt like Keegan's been able to understand the role that they need to play and been able to run it very well. That's to be Alizu with the replica Nano Monkey. I don't think I've seen that before.
Well, dupe onto the Winston. You see, I mean, Alizu is naturally a tank player, so, you know, kind of expected to be able to pop the primal and do a bit of work.
I think that's a lot of the power. I think as much as on the flex DPS slot, Alizu might not have the X factor that they have on flex support or tank. Like, I think having that knowledge and having that experience of having played it gives you a lot of utility, especially on a character like Echo, where you know how to function on this role, no matter who you are selecting to copy.
Beautiful little primal mechanics here from Keegan. Gets out with less than 200 HP remaining. With nowadays a primal rage, that's a low number.
Terrifying, frankly. Oh my
goodness.
god! That pulse bomb might have just saved the point for them.
Absolutely just soloed the point for them. Are you kidding me?
Oh my god. That was... Ouch.
I mean, it's a question as to whether or not CSU would have even held on, regardless of the pulse bomb being popped. Keegan did just pop the primal and find very little value out of it, but also CSU had popped the support ultimate, the nano, and the duplicate in a little bit of a questionable scenario. Maybe didn't need to pop.
I think it's where you want to be, but at the same time, I think CSU would have been able to force out some of these ultimates in that fight. However, they've now put them in a very dangerous situation. CSU is putting the hurt on GMU right now. I think it was 3 kills off of Keegan, able to force them back a little bit here, taking control of these high grounds.
I mean, now they'll have the Rally, Nano, and Bob. They're about to have almost all 5 ultimates again. I need to see a little bit better ult management from them this fight. And that's just really my main goal. Keegan falls, tank most important character, but they managed to take down the primal available Winston.
Yeah, I think that, like, it's not where you want to be to have your tank go down, but I think that on a map like in this situation, it's a little bit less impactful because a lot of the role that your tank is playing can somewhat be filled by your positioning, by these walls. You're able to avoid that direct attention, even if you're still really not going to want to be there because the tank is now free reign to go do whatever he wants, and letting Winston do whatever he wants is not what you want to do.
Especially because tank is so power crept right now. They gave tanks that 40% ult charge provided reduction. They have all that armor. They have that knockback resistance. They have headshot damage resistance. There's so much buff that Winston has gotten, that tanks have gotten nowadays, that makes it so hard to cleanly kill a tank.
So we force out both Winstons here are going to use their primal. CSU trading ult for ult, where it's going to be almost 3 on GMU side, but CSU is matching it with 2 right now. Feel like they're playing it pretty well. It's going to be Alizu coming in, taking out the Ashe in a fraction of a second. Blink, and you'll miss it. The rally coming down, that might be a little bit scary if CSU can't do some serious damage.
I like
the
this.
adaption. Ooh, I don't mind this. I think that this might be a good idea.
I like that little cheeky duplicate. Intentionally goes for the Brig and not the Winston in order to make sure that they can pocket Keegan, keep him alive in that engage, and finish the fight. If they went for the Winston, Keegan maybe falls there. Maybe it's a little bit harder to win that fight, but they managed to close out the 2v2 a little bit more positive.
I think CSU's in a really powerful position here with this advantage, but at the same time, they only have about 40 seconds to put a lot of pressure in. Keegan goes down, not where you want to be, but that's also going to be, CSU trading here. Maybe not the trades you want to be making, but at the same time, they're the trades that you have to take. W1 just about to get Rally here. If they can keep them off of this point for 22 seconds, that's going to be the end of the game, then it might be a little bit difficult. That's the rally up and ready. There it goes. This could be the end of the game. There goes the Ash. CSU beginning to push in. GMU having to run back. Unfortunately, that's going to be the end of IRU 1, but CSU continues to push in. They're going to need the Cloud9 if they want any chance of continuing to hold on to this point. They have to be on that point right now, or it's going to be over. That's the overtime. Thickman trying to push everybody off of the cart with the Primal. However, CSU is right there to keep them off of it. Keegan also with the Primal that Thickman is not going to be able to hold out for very long, as Keegan is back in action, full health, full power, and that's going to be the end of Paradiso, with CSU taking it with an incredibly clean 2-0.
Very, very strong so far from CSU. A lot of the questions I had are starting to be resolved. A lot of the existing questions I have for CSU are starting to look a little bit better. The ults are still a little bit subpar. It feels a little bit almost like... Yep, it's the 3K that Keegan got. This is the one that clutched out the attack and allowed them to keep going at this waning moment. It's one thing that I'll tell you what, I never would have made that call. I'm a bit of a coward, granted, but I never would have made the call for something like that. So, Keegan, that is the perfect call to make in that situation. That's exactly what was necessary. I'm so happy to see CSU with that clutch gene fully enabled there.
After watching this and being on production for the previous Valorant game, CSU's teams this semester feel incredibly dominant. They are nothing to shake a stick at. Like, teams this semester, and I say this with I love every semester of our teams. I think that we're crazy. But like, watching this, these plays are excellent. And even when we find these little mistakes that are happening, primarily you finding these little mistakes that are happening, I'm just enjoying the match. We are seeing CSU make their way and go, we're not going to let this stop us. We're not going to let this slow us down. Let's keep going.
I don't think it's the right English. Did we ever change this?
Sorry, I was talking with the producer.
They're covering with the
They would get rid of this.
What were you saying, Psychic?
I was mainly talking about the fact of, like, as much as you've been able to notice these mistakes that CSU are making, I feel like they've done a really good job of, even after them, I feel like they're able to go, okay, maybe not the best move, but how can we win from here? I feel like CSU has consistently been able to play in an incredibly efficient and incredibly adaptive manner, even when they just have to continue to play the game.
Excuse me. That is one of the strengths that CSU really does have and has had for a little bit. Is that adaptability, is that ability to adjust and change course. And that's going to be even more prevalent as time goes on. This is the strongest I think CSU has been. I'll tell you what, I talked to them earlier today. They are already scrimming higher than we were at the end of last season.
Absolutely.
Already. Just to start the season, they are scrimming at a higher elo, at a higher level than we ever did in the previous year. So this is the strongest CSU iteration.
Remember correctly, there's a concept in computing where computers will continue to exponentially get even more powerful as time goes on.
CSU is an AI.
CSU is about to reach the singularity.
The CS. I was trying to come up with a pun for that, like CSU angularity, but that didn't work.
I'm trying to portmanteau it too, and it's not working.
It's so close, but so far.
The Cleveland singularity? No. We'll figure out something someday.
At some point.
No, I don't know.
A CS ultimatum.
I mean, that's pretty much what we're putting our opponents in here. Think that are we going to push for the third map?
Yep, this is the newest push map. I believe it was released in the summer, so I don't think you've seen it before. Runasapi. I absolutely adore this map. We have gone from, quite frankly, or quite possibly, my least favorite map to my most favorite map. I despise Paradiso, and I love Runasapi. This
It's
map
equivalent
is
exchange.
Equivalent exchange, exactly. On average, this series is okay. This map has look at all of the doors around, right? Just there's so many flank angles, so many routes that you can take to do basically anything. Like, look, you go through here, like there's a door to the left, beautiful painting, but there's so many doors, there's so many flank routes. It's designed like a TF2 map. And that's one thing that I criticized Overwatch 2 at the start. It just feels like to me, it felt like the Overwatch 2 1 maps that got updated, they were just like, oh, throw in a car here, that'll solve the problem. No, you need to add new flank routes. You need to add new angles and new places to go on the map, because now there's so much more agency for DPS. And this is a map that really shows off that development mindset, and it's so well made.
I'm looking at it and I'm really excited to see, especially with these faster characters, with the speed boost from the Juno, with the Tracer. I'm really excited to see how CSU decides to use these routes, and especially I'm excited to see the escapes on this map. I feel like it's going to be very easy for characters like Tracer to just lose a fight or not be in a powerful position and just be able to leave.
So one thing that makes you see both teams, I already talked about this competition earlier. I don't remember if it was on stream. The Juno Brig is very strong because you have the main benefits of playing Lucio in a composition like this, which is that speed boost at critical moments. But you also have that Brig's defensive abilities and that counter dive survivability, as well as Juno's existing survivability.
Absolutely. I think that Juno as a character seems to have a lot of utility that is maybe lost in a more dedicated speed character like Lucio. And by dedicated speed character, I mean the dedicated speed character. Yeah. Like with those missiles, with just a lot of these options, I feel like you're in a very powerful position, and I'm excited to see how that blossoms out over the semester.
CSU aren't going to be able to engage for a little while. Keegan's still building up to that mech, just gets it back now. The Juno's main utility isn't really a utility so much as it is just she's hard to kill, and she has a lot of good solid damage. In particular, those torpedoes that she shoots out do 85 damage. It's a very sizable chunk of damage, and it can be used as an engage tool if you get a good chunk of damage on a player, because that's a third of the health pool.
Absolutely, and especially with DPS maybe taking a bit of a hit in this season, having the ability to put a lot of damage on someone as a support feels like it's a very powerful position to be in, because softening up those opponents means that it's less likely for people to go down. That's going to be both teams dropping the orbital ray here. A little bit scary because the bob's also going to come down from GMU here. Muhiki going down, not where you want to be, but at the same time, CSU still holding strong here, I think. Doing what they can. A little bit of an ult disadvantage, but I don't think that it's the end of the world, especially with these ults coming up here. Keegan chasing down Thickman, forcing out the Primal Rage here. Going to try and kill Irie 1 and going to succeed. Not where you want to be, but not the end of the world as CSU continues to try and fight. Keegan gets DMAC.
I don't know. I don't like that self-destruct. I really don't like that self-destruct. You're using it in an already mostly lost fight. You're going to have to back off to reset anyways. Another self-destruct that I don't really like.
I feel like a lot of these self-destructs have a little bit of a gambler fallacy, where instead of trying to use it as a tool to win, you're using it as a tool to lose less, which is not where you want to be, I don't think, especially when you're at a little bit of a disadvantage.
That is kind of how you have to use bomb in general, but the fact that Keegan has used it in like losing fights, like if you're dying as D.Va, then you pop it. But if you've already downed 2 or 3 people, they found the opportunity to clutch, but it was a high risk, medium reward type of play.
Yeah, it's. I think the position. What I mean by that is like in the situations where you're dying as a D.Va, but staying in the fight would effectively change the context. I think that's where it's very important to be able to bomb. But in those fights where it's like, as you're saying, it's kind of already a finished deal, it might just be better to disengage or try and get out of there, or even actually take the death at sometimes. There's the Nano on the D.Va here, forcing the entire enemy team back, giving CSU control of the robot.
And you see how easy it is to zone off the D.Va with the Nano Boost. It's another reason why I don't really like the D.Va so much, is because it's so easy to force the D.Va to get minimal value with something like the Nano. Meanwhile, a Winston will always get value, and that is a massive nade.
Oh my goodness. That is. See, I like that bomb, personally. I think that bomb's actually in a really good position. CSU chasing them down. This Ash gonna have to use the ability here. There goes the Grig.
That's just a good pulse bomb. You're getting these staggers. The bomb to try to contest, but it's a body block from Keegan. Oh, that is so clean. And Olizu wins the 1v1 against Embor. Oh, this is all just looking like curtains for GMU as CSU. They're looking good.
I couldn't tell if that was just like really good luck or like superstition, but like blocking that bob feels like it has an incredible amount of value.
I'm going to go with a combination of superstition and intentional epic gameplay from Keegan.
Fair enough. It was definitely the right play. See the rally coming down from IRU1 here. Forces out, kills the enemy brig, but Alizu goes down at the same time. Ugh, ouch.
I like it though. One thing I like about this new CSU roster is how aggressive these supports are willing to get. Like in the past,
Absolutely.
They would be a little bit more scared to kind of put their supports in harm's way. Now, you just saw Muhiki and IRU1 just waltzing into the enemy backline, like, hey, let me see what I can find over here, and they just killed somebody.
Genuinely. And I think that it gets them a lot of value because I feel like a lot of the time, if you see a healer, you're going to engage them. You're going to put everything on the line to try and get that kill because there is such a wide swing when you kill a healer. But when you're in a situation against Muhiki, against IRU1, you're not in a good position because they will just kill you.
Spam attempt from Alizu, doesn't find it. Might have needed that one. I think it's so much value right now to stick the enemy Winston on engage and just blow half of his health away. And I kind of wish I saw Lisa go for that.
Definitely, it would have been very valuable, and I think that like right now, I think having strong ults and the ability to use them is going to be real important. With the orbital laser coming down for the opposing team, pressing CSU to back up a little bit here. It's with the nano from the opposing. Ooh,
Keegan
ate it.
Bomb. That's the second pulse bomb eat this series, by the way. Keegan's
with the delicious dinner meal.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch. All four meals of the day, and also that midday snack and dessert as well into Keegan's gullet.
When pulse bombs are in a defense matrix, you can eat pulse bombs anytime.
That is true. That is literally true.
Genuinely. It's going to be another one of these bombs. Let's see if it's going to get value.
Oh,
it is going to find a tracer.
Okay. I said before, bombs should really find kills. That is one that they should absolutely never find. Your tracer should never die to a pulse bomb.
Unfortunately, it was a bad omen. Bit of a bad omen. CSU does have the advantage here. They are in forward spawn, so I'm not too afraid of this. We're going to see Keegan switching over to the Winston, which I think is a really good play here.
They give away this lead, though. The lead at this point in the game, this is starting to get a little bit hard to come back from. I'm not willing to call it yet. I called it when I was watching a game with some friends, and it was looking very much like this, and I ended up being wrong. I'm not willing to call it, but it's going to be rough to win from this position.
It's rough. It requires a sort of momentum swing, but like if CSU can find some place to take that momentum, I think that they can absolutely make it happen. They just need to find that golden opportunity and try and commit on it, but they do need to find that first, and if they aren't able to find it, this could be curtains, so it's a little bit tense for CSU here.
Managed to contest before the respawns were set. Stealer with the orbital ray doesn't find a whole lot. Keegan with an nano boost as well. A little bit dry on that one. We'll build the primal rage in just a moment. IRU1 now with the rally starting to surge on forward, looking for some kills, looking for some space, but they're going to lose Keegan down. But to trade there, the enemy flex support's fallen. IRU1 trying to hold the line, but gets stunned out. The rally there from GMU finds value.
Definitely a little bit scary. CSU taking some serious hits. And they're going to take recontrol of the robot. Not the end of the game, but not where you want to be. How do you think CSU makes their way out of this one if they have to?
Well, the thing is that makes it so hard to come back from this is assuming GMU don't make a mistake, like or don't play bad, CSU should never be able to come back. Mathematically, GMU should be able to lose the fights here and win the fights at NACE, because they should be able to consistently come back by the time the bot is close to mid, but not at mid, and CSU need to hit 2 clutch fights in a row.
Unfortunately, Muhiki going down very early in the fight with Keegan. I think that you might be right on this one. Although I think that, what's the next round? Is it Flashpoint?
Well, I'm not willing to look at next map yet. This is still clutchable. CSU have a state in their ultimates to where they will have key ones coming up at very critical times if they can have a good ult bank. But again, that's been the main weakness.
This might be now or never. CSU needs to make a play here. With the Bob coming out from the opposing team, trying to get a bomb on the Juno, but unfortunately, Bob's going to also get a kill on Alizu. Ian trying to get some damage in here. Needs to find an opening. The brig is extremely low, forced off of the point. Or that was not where the point was. And Keegan goes down.
I mean, you needed Keegan to live there. Try to save the Primal. A little bit of nudging there from Hiki. I like that. Try to save the Primal because of that ult economy, but that's a it's just one of those rare situations where you just need to pop it anyways. It's an unfortunate situation because if they live, then I'm glazing. If they loot, like if they die, then I'm not.
Yeah. That's Mediano on top. This could be CSU's big break. There goes the Ash immediately down. CSU might be able to make a conversion off of this. Super, super low. That's going to be the orbital ray coming down from the opposing Juno. Aoryuan and Muhiki going down. It's not where you want to be. Thickman has the ultimate going on, but Keegan does as well. CSU final stand here, forcing them off of the point here. Rig is on pittance, absolutely, but unfortunately, CSU's not on the point, and that's going to be the end of it.
So the thing with that is CSU got baited a little bit. They saw the Ashe main, thought that they would be setting up their core, which is their supports and one of their DPS, on main, and they just didn't. CSU, they got baited a little bit, and the rest of the enemy team came out of another sight line, came out of another angle. GMU were able to clutch that fight out, and that's the problem with push, is that it's so hard. Oh crap, I almost just tore my headphones off my head. Is that it's so hard to win from down, and it's so, when you get to that point, it's on every single push map, it's around 80 to 85 meters. You've lost unless the enemy team chokes. It's literally out of your hands. It's just straight up out of your hands. It's just how it is on push.
Fair enough. I know you got a good point there. However, I also think that CSU has, like, I've seen this in a lot of CSU teams. The worst place that CSU can be is game point. I feel like it's a consistent thing that I've seen where CSU has a bit of a habit of, like, once we get to game point, we start dropping a little bit. And I think that once we can get back on that horse, back into that rotation, I think that we're going to be able to take a lot of momentum.
To be fair, that one was GMU's map pick. So CSU, they gave that map pick away, or not really gave that map pick away, but that one was sent to GMU. GMU lost the prior map. Now CSU lost that map, so they get this map pick. It is Flashpoint, but obviously Flashpoint doesn't have a lot of options. It's really just New Junk City and Saravasa. It's just Saravasa and New Junk City. Those are your only two Flashpoint options. So it's really just up to personal preference between those two. CSU don't really have a big advantage picking map here.
Maybe not ideal, but they are at game point. And if CSU can take this, they're taking it home.
And you can absolutely take a positive here for CSU in that you looked worse on the dive, but you looked better on the map 1 dive. You looked way better on the brawl. Or I guess you didn't look better on the map 1 dive. Round 2 of map 1 was a bit of a struggle, but the first round of map 1, you looked better. Paraíso, you looked better. And then when you got to play the brawl, you absolutely looked better. And New Junk City is a bit more of a rush map. It's a little bit more of that sort of brawlier map. You're not going to see a lot of dive characters. In fact, I hate to say it, I don't want to say it because I hate this character, but we may just see Mauga.
I don't want to see Mauga either, I'm going to be honest.
He's objectively probably the best tank all across New Junk City. He used to be Junker Queen, but sadly, Blizzard, in their infinite wisdom, decided that Mauga needed to be very strong here. It does look as though CSU has morality and will not dare touch Big Man Trademark.
Listen, I think that if you have to, it's like the Cielivori Calcos or something. You sell your soul to pick Mauga.
Excuse me. It is the what's it called? What's it called? The box. The box that they
Pandora's
open.
box.
Pandora's box. You are opening Pandora's box of counter picks when you play Mauga. Like, if you play Mauga, it's like, oh, it's like that. Then we'll just counter pick the Mauga and play everything into it, or we'll go a better Mauga comp. It's Pandora's box. It's any terrible metaphor you can come up with.
It's not where you want to be. We're going to see interesting composition change. How do you feel about the Venture on GMU here?
Venture's very strong, very good on this map in particular, very survivable. Good flanks to take advantage of. Playing it with a Tracer is a bit suspect, but it is a very strong character. I would just like to see it with something like the Ashe that CSU is playing. Maybe a Genji, but that's a bit suspect as well. His Genji is so struggles so much right now that it's hard to make something work with Venture.
I see. Definitely a little bit of a problem. CSU taking some major hits here. Not able to take it, but this does mean that they're going to have to be... I don't like where that's... I don't like the situation here, but I don't think it's the end of the world.
No, not at all. I think CSU may need to consider assuming a couple other... I mean, map 1, the first fight they did lose, to be frank, but, you know, it's not exactly telling so far. But they may need to consider playing the Mauga. They may need to consider playing Big Man TM. Because ultimately, this is a match. This is... Morality only gets so far.
Fair enough. Part of me wants to say I think that CSU could use a Juno, maybe. I feel like that would help very much here. But CSU is definitely able to start rolling, even with their current composition, taking control of the match, going into that center spot to capture. 70%, one off the funny number.
71, yes.
Nice. Favorite number, 71.
Yes. So the Juno is nice, but it's usually played in a divier style. The Kiriko is better at burst healing an individual target if you can focus on hard pocketing them. And Joker Queen really, really likes that hard pocket, as well as the occasional burst of AoE, which is what Suzu allows you to do, as well as Cleansing Rampage.
And I think you've got a good point. Especially, I wasn't even thinking about the cleanse. I think my main thing is I think that, like, in a mode like this, being able to build a lot of ult very, very quickly is very important. I think you're in so many scramble situations, and ult economy really does matter in Flashpoint. CSU trading a bit here, not maybe where you want to be, but I think Keegan's still on the point. Unfortunately, no, that's going to be the capture, but CSU is able to make it happen. Although, speaking of the Juno, we're going to see it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about it. We did see Muhiki do what I'm calling the Kitsune Ajax. Popped the ults and immediately died, so it didn't go off, which I think motivated the counter pick. And now the Rampage is a bit bigger from CSU's side.
Not where you want to be. Muhiki in a little bit of a 1v1, able to win it. Major, I think.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous from him. And CSU will win the fight, and with 80% on the board for CSU, this is a hard place to recontest for GMU.
I think that they really have to play it quickly. They have to get on the point as quickly as possible. And I think the only characters who can...
Yeah. Giving it up. Once it hits around... Yeah, once it hits around like 90%. Like, so for context, Control has 110 seconds per point. Flashpoint has 70. So that means each percent is significantly less than a second. So once it hits 90, you've got about like 7 seconds left to touch. That sounds like a fair bit, but it's really not.
It's the Tracer had to get there and not die or bust. That's kind of what they were planning for, and I don't think they were in a situation for that. LSU able to trade here. CSU losing Captain Junior, but taking down the opposing Juno. I think LSU dodged a bullet. I think that was almost another death by pulse bomb.
Almost another self-destruct.
Yeah. But LSU with the quick thinking saw it once the round, didn't want the curse to pass over to them.
Fooled me once, shame on me because I fooled me once. Fool me twice, still shame on me because I'm the only person fooling me.
Exactly.
Muhiki does have the orbital ray here, so CSU, they are actually going to have a far better ult economy than it looks. They'll be able to cycle up here.
Like LSU just being an absolute menace in the back line. Tracer on Pittance having to use that rewind here. Once again, second burst, hopefully same as the first. Ellie's been an absolute menace in this back line.
Yeah, but you really needed to pop that orbital ray when it looked like you were getting engaged on. Keegan just kind of got melted through. The Juno didn't quite have enough healing to sustain. I really wish that I saw CSU go for that sort of orbital ray to prevent the engage. Even if you don't get the kills, even if you don't win a team fight off of it, you're still building more percent, and you're still stalling, and you're still able to push with it because orbital ray moves.
I think that that's a really good analysis of the situation. Although I wonder if CSU might be able to use it for a recontest. That might be their plan. But that's going to be the satellite cannon coming down. That's going to be Keegan popping the ultimate as well. CSU taking some serious losses, but they're still fighting strong. Keegan going down.
Seiger Muhiki here is going to be really bad, but he's going to defend himself with his God-given right to bear arms. Barely gets back in spawn. And they may have an opportunity to touch, especially with that pick from Alizu.
I think Alizu needs to hit that point as quickly as possible. Keegan switching to the Doomfist, just trying to get in as quickly as possible, getting the nano. Ooh, just barely. I'm getting it onto overtime.
Doomfist swap. My specialty, my personal love. Gets the nice rocket punch flick.
Are they going to be able to find something off of the Reckoning? I don't think so. CSU retaking the point at 99%. I love that rollout from Keegan. That was incredibly smart, using the options at their disposal. And
that's my personal...
Doomfist is doing work. Speak.
That's not even my personal favorite. That's just the default Doomfist rollout. If you combine the Rocket Punch and the Seismic Slam, you get a significantly faster rollout. And now CSU, he honestly forgot that they had point control for so long, and now it's at 99.99.
I feel like these both have been like super close.
Oh yeah.
One problem is that Keegan now has to be on the point as a character who, as we've discussed, might be not the strongest right now, but at the same time putting in a lot of work. Stunned with the there goes the brig. This could be pretty major. Duking it out with the Junker Queen right now.
And I Really Want has the rally if they even need it, though. They're finding the trades necessary, and CSU with the clutch gene, they're 2-0, match and map point.
This is real major. They just have to keep focused. They can't let themselves slip, but they have access to that pulse bomb. They have access to that rally. They're having that Doomfist ultimate come up. And as long as they play this correctly, I don't know what GMU is going to do. Like, they're in a pretty precarious position because the earliest thing they're going to get is the orbital laser. But the problem is that's only going to, like, that's going to give you some access to the rest of your ults. But that ult itself isn't going to swing a fight like a Fox Tube would. Like,
maybe just good, actually. It is very powerful. Though.
Oh, I'm not down in the slightest. I just also think that it's not as impactful as they would need it for it to be, for the only ultimate they're coming up on getting. Although CSU immediately burns theirs and isn't on the point. That's not where you want to be.
I mean, the Orbital Ray may just be one of the strongest ultimates in the game right now, not just for that cycling, but because it is so strong at solo winning teamfights. It's 100 healing per second. Not as high as something like even a Moira's Coalescence, which is 140, but it's still very high healing per second.
Fair enough.
And it's the strongest damage boost currently in the game aside of Amp Matrix and Nano. But it's very flexible.
So I'm sorry. I was definitely wrong on that.
I used to be such a Juno hater. I have transformed into a Juno believer.
I think that the ultimate is really powerful. I think that it's real scary. I'm just not used to seeing it as the one that wins the match. I'm used to seeing like box tubes and such. I need to come up with a silly nickname for it since it's the new good one.
It is definitely like the new kid on the block, but it's the very buff new kid on the block who, kind of has a 300-pound bench on him. Kind of a freak in the gym. That one.
I mean, listen, if it wins the set and it sells copies of Overwatch 2,
technically nothing sells copies of Overwatch 2. It's a free game. No, I'm kidding. This fight.
I got this fight then.
Yeah, you know. This fight for CSU is going to be beyond rough. A monumental ultimate disadvantage, 4-2.
I think the one thing I can say about this ultimate disadvantage is right now, I think CSU's play, I don't know if they can win this specific point, but if they can get GMU to burn as many ultimates as possible, they are 0-2 right now.
Oh,
they do not have the flexibility to run into another set with an ult disadvantage. If these roles were reversed, this is the end of the game.
I mean, it
cannot
might
just themselves get that situation.
It might just be the end of the game because GMU, they popped 3 ultimates and it's still looking a bit rough for their chances to win this fight. 74% of the poll. I talked about it before.
Where did they go? Where did the ultimates go?
They popped the rally into nothing. I think the bomb managed to clean that one up. They popped the pulse bomb into absolutely nothing. And Thick Man didn't find a whole lot with the rampage. It was a little too late. And Kaiosen popped the tectonic shock in a little bit of an opportune time. Thick Man now has
balling.
touch on this man's balling. But how long can one man ball?
Their last hope lies in this hamster. And I don't know if this hamster can hold on for too long.
I mean,
Like, he's definitely a buff guy.
The last hope for a bit there was kind of that tectonic shock. But with that finding only one, the orbital ray and the last thing. And
I gotta eat my words. They won the one where they only had the orbital laser, and they lost the one where they had every other ultimate.
That's just kind of the Juno character. That's kind of a good ultimate, actually. That kind of a good character.
Genuinely, I guess we both made the country fool. One more than the other. Thank you so much for joining us here. I think we might have a little bit of post show to go.
Yeah, going to go ahead and just in a moment bring in one of the players for a quick post-match interview. I'm just going to go ahead and grab one of the rookies real quick. I will be back for grabbing.
While you're gone? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
While you're gone. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been NACE CSU versus GMU. Thank you so much for joining us. We don't quite have a schedule quite yet, so I can't tell you when the next game is going to be. But please give us a follow. If you'd like to, give us a subscription. If you've got an Amazon Prime account, I'm sure that you could make something happen. But anyway, with that, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back sometime, probably this week, probably next week. Definitely next week, with more esports. Now we're gonna have a interview with one of our players once Time Monster gets back. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your involvement, and thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you the next time, and soon you'll get to see a live interview with one of our players who just was able to get a very powerful 3-1 victory over GMU.
I muted myself on the microphone here. So I am joined by our rookie tank player, Keegan. Keegan,
hello.
Welcome to the stream. How do you feel after your first match on stage? Or not really on stage. It's not really much on stage.
Yeah.
But your first match playing with CSU, how do you feel?
Pretty good. I'm disappointed we lost him out, but not much.
It's not a bad team. I don't know. I didn't see any of their ranks or anything, but from what I saw online, like I checked out Wikipedia a little bit what I could. They were a red name team, but like they played in a few tournaments. They ended up second in a couple of them to like Northwood, for example. So they're not like a bad team. So I wouldn't feel too bad about dropping them out.
I just feel like we could have definitely done a lot better on that map, and I don't know. I think I have some pretty high expectations for our team this year.
Perfect. You're not the only one. I'm expecting you guys all the way to the top, especially come spring when Overwatch Gleck happens. I'm hoping you guys end up beating Cleary, which is the big. That was who beat us last year. That is the #1 team for CSU Overwatch. Do you guys think you can do it? Do you guys think that that for me would be my main goal, if only just for revenge?
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that?
I think it's doable. I think
Mhm.
we're going to get put in a lot of hard work. But I think if we put in the work, it's definitely doable.
So you have come in as the rookie tank player for CSU.
Yeah.
You've obviously played tank outside of CSU for quite a while, like especially in CAW. How has your experience been, particularly in CAW?
In CA, it's been fine. There's definitely like a big tier gap between like I think I would say top 3 teams currently and the rest.
Like Valentine, I think it's Timeless Ethereal, or did they get signed by Nightmare?
It's like Nightmare,
Timeless Nightmare. Like,
Yeah, Timeless Nightmare.
What is that? But
And then like Valentine split up and YFP split up and they made like 2 teams. Like that was a mix of them.
oh yeah, so like FYP and
FYP and Valentine.
and Valentine,
They
like,
kind of just
mixed
mixed together
monsters.
and then like swap players and stuff.
It's just like
Yeah.
shuffle the deck, go
Yeah.
again.
Pretty much. And then there's a pretty big tier gap between the rest.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, I had fun playing in COD, but I definitely think there's a lot better competition if you're not like those top 3 teams.
Yeah.
Playing in OWS and.
Mhm.
Is it-
One more question for you. So you are a tank player. I'm going to assume you were a tank player in Overwatch 1 as well.
Yeah.
Were you a main tank or an off tank? I think you were an off tank.
I played both.
You were both. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you end as?
I don't know. I ended as I think off tank when it was ball meta.
All right.
Yeah.
So even though I was technically incorrect, I'm going to take that as a dub and pretend I was right, because I just kind of like I was talking like, oh, Keegan's an off tank player, but
Mhm.
good at the main tanks. But no, I guess I was wrong. But I'm going to pretend I wasn't. But anything else you would like to say after your first win of the series or season, your first match of the season, and continuing the CSU streak of so far nobody's lost this season? Anything you want to say?
Hopefully we get more 3-0s in the future from the Overwatch team.
I'll tell you right now, assuming St. Xavier is as good as they were last year, you guys are going to mop the floor with them.
Yeah.
So next week should be easy
Next week should be easy.
for NACE. Not to be rude to St. Xavier, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of confidence for next week.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
all right.
Easy one.
Thank you all for showing up today. I've been Ty Munster. I was joined by Psychic on the cast. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. You'll be seeing her next week again for their match next week. And don't forget about, there's no more games, I think, this week. So come back ready and prepared for next week. Have a great one.
Bye.